Welcome to Hey Dad Podcast. Real dads, tough issues, and a genuine love for a fatherless generation. Okay, welcome to the Dad Show. My name is Chris Lawler. This is Frank Lamelli. This is Rick Rivera. We're all qualified dads, and we created this little show to speak to guys and girls who maybe don't have a father or don't have a great connection with their father, basically the unfathered generation. So we decided to come together, talk about all different kinds of things, and give you the perspective of three dads that really care about how your life's going to turn out.
Yes.
So today's topic we're going to talk about is leadership. Sometimes you're going to be called to be a leader in a situation, and you may not be comfortable with that. But if you're not a leader, then that means you're a follower. And we're just going to talk about the different aspects of that. And what I'm going to start with is, when you were young and you were with your friends, were you the leader of the pack?
I think I was more of the clown.
The clown, yeah.
I led in clownliness.
So who was the leader in your gang?
We did have a guy that he was pretty tough. You know, he was kind of like, if he jumped in, we all jumped in. You know, we kind of followed him. So I think he was kind of the most fearless out of all of us. And then he was also the most daring. So I think that's how he got that role of leadership.
Yeah. How about you?
It's hard to say. I think I was one. I think there was two leaders in our pack, and me and my best friend were the two leaders. And it's funny because we were best friends. But there is one thing they used to say about me all the time is that, Rick, when you're not there, like, people don't connect.
Yeah.
But if I was there, they would connect and hang out, you know? So they always demanded I went, because I think maybe because I invited in the outliers too, like the not as cool or the not as, whatever. And I always made room for them. And so when they were all without me there, they didn't have that connector again, So I think so. I'm going to say partially yes.
Well, that's actually a really great characteristic of a leader. A leader connects other people.
Yeah.
It becomes a common thread that people want to follow. They want to gather around. They feel safe. They feel empowered to do things that they wouldn't if they were just by themselves.
Yeah.
And you need people like that.
And I relate to that because the leader of our pack was my best friend. And he was more of a quiet, but like when it got serious, he was quick to jump. But back in the 80s, when we were going out, when we were teenagers, there was a lot of house parties.
Yeah.
So I would be the first one on the dance floor. I would be the first one to connect that group of girls with the group of us guys. I was fearless in that way. And they kind of said, hey, you didn't come this past Saturday. It was different. So I think it was
a bunch of wallflowers.
Yeah, it was like that balance.
See, I never had that. I always wish I could be more relaxed and enjoy parties more. Yeah. I was always uptight.
I look forward to it.
I know. I never had that. I always wanted that.
And I wasn't the party type. I didn't care about the drinking or nothing. I just liked being around people, making them laugh.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the guys were always like, lean back. But then when Frank went out there, they're like, they just, it was like, oh, okay, we can relax now.
It's funny.
It's a good subject though to like uncover how did your friend become the leader? How did me and Steve become the leader in my friend group? Yeah. Because I think what that reveals to you, like a lot of times you have a job, you're looking to move up in the job, you want to get into leadership roles, management. It applies at church, leading in church, even just leading your family.
Right.
I think there's certain traits that you have to have or develop that will put you in that spot.
I remember an old cartoon where a couple of guys together, and it's an old gag, but they're all three hanging around. They're saying, "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. What do you want to do?" "Yeah. We got to do something. So what do you want to do?" "I don't know." And nobody will step forth and lead. They all are willing to follow. And there's reasons why somebody wants to be a follower rather than a leader. The follower seems like he doesn't have to take responsibility for what happens
safe.
as much.
Yeah, you're not putting your
safe.
neck out. You're safe. You're not putting, or else you have a strong leader, and they just like you have a really large eagle in the group, and he just dominates just because he breathes, not trying to.
But
the
thing is, even if you have a really obnoxious and dominant leader, the only reason people won't just abandon that ground, say, forget it, I'm not going to be dominated by you, is they get to do things that they would normally not be willing to do.
That's true.
Because they take shelter under the leadership of whoever that leader was.
Yeah.
And sometimes usually it goes to the dark side, not the light side.
Yeah, usually goes dark rather
somebody
than light.
else's actions in that group, because you trust, somebody else's actions kind of pulls out either the best or worst out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if he's in, I'm all in, but I would not do that by myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it could work both ways. It could be a good thing, or it could be a really dumb thing.
Well, here's a really ridiculous example. My daughter, she sells merchandise at concerts. It's one of her jobs. And she flew all the way out from Nashville to LA to work the mind is blanking, the blonde that's blowing everybody's mind.
Oh, no way. Gwen Stefani?
No.
Oh, because my daughter just went to that concert.
Huh?
Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift, yes. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a freaking phenomenon.
Yeah.
And there are so many that come to the concert dressed in one of her iconic costumes that she did a video in, and they know the words to all the songs. They'll do anything. And they bought like millions of dollars worth of merchandise at the table because they're all following Taylor Swift. Yeah. And so Taylor Swift enables them to be somebody other than who they would actually be.
Yeah.
That breaks a couple different ways. For one, there's a sense where that's a little like kind of sad. Like, really? You got to have this person dictate your life. The other part is, what kind of a responsibility is that that's sitting on Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Knowing that whatever she does, she picks up a stick of lipstick, millions are going to do the same thing. There's a lot of people that they want to be those kind of influencers on social media, that whatever they say, whatever they do, whatever their opinion is, sways a lot of people. And they make a lot of money if they're successful doing that.
We're from an era where social media wasn't even, didn't even cross our minds. But I could tell you that I was blessed with a good group of guys. We weren't gang members, or we didn't hurt people, or we didn't do drugs. We didn't do stuff like that. We were just a group of mischievous, guys that just wanted out, go and have fun, and the girls,
Yeah.
But we always did things that were kind of like that program that used to be on TV, the Jackass program.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They do like a bunch of dumb things,
Edgy
stupid things.
stunts.
Yeah.
We never went as far as they did, but
You
but
never shot skyrockets out of your butt.
no. But in our experiences is pretty wild and funny and ridiculous.
Right.
And we're friends to this day. We're not as tight as we used to be because everybody got married, have kids, they have life, but we're still connected. And we talk about those times, and none of us died. We all made it. But it helped us all to have, you guys were talking about something, and it made me think I think there's leadership in all of us. I really do. I think that if you follow someone, I think that's only going to be a season in your life, because eventually we all call to lead. And where do we call to lead? In the most important task of our lives, which is in our homes, when we become husbands and fathers.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody should feel like, I'm just a follower, I'm not a leader. At some point, you're never going to be a follower forever. You're not.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have to lead someone somewhere. And I think it's in all of us now. For different reasons, I believe, maybe from past horrible experiences or things like trauma. I think those of us that have that don't have the ability to really pull that leadership out. But how many times has there been somebody in trouble that we hear about that they were in drugs, addicted to this or that, and then they come out leading?
Yeah.
Because they found that they inside of them. But I think,
I mean, what you're really saying is that everybody has to have that tool set.
I believe so.
You may not use it as often or as forcefully as somebody else, but you want to have that. You want to become familiar with that, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for leading your own life. I mean, we're Christians, and we realize that at the end of our life, we're going to stand before the Lord and give an account, and nobody is going to be around us. We're not going to be able to say, well, he told me to do that, and that person said this. We're going to have to stand and represent our own choices. And so, if nothing else, you got to lead yourself.
In our Christian walk, we're all different, right? And so, what makes up the church? You know, God puts a gift in every single one of his kids.
Right.
And then he's going to use that. He's going to develop that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look at any of his kids as followers. Mm-hmm. We're all leaders in his eyes. Now, will we pull that out? Will we tap into it? Will we realize that's where things get separated? And I think people say, well, you know, you were born a follower and he was born a leader. No, I think we're all born leaders. It's just depending on where we come from and what we've been through. Mm-hmm. Is some of us sooner than later are able to pull that out.
Let's talk about the dynamics of that. A leader has to have followers by definition. If nobody's following you, you're not a leader of other people. At least you might be leading yourself, might be that loner type, just plowing through life in your own direction. But unless somebody's following you, you can't really make a case that you're a real leader. But for every leader, there has to be followers.
Yeah.
Followers will encourage and enable a leader to do things beyond their ability.
Yeah.
And if you ever tasted that, you would know what I'm talking about. When you have a bunch of guys that, yeah, let's go, jump off the bridge. Yeah, but it's 50 feet and down to the water, you know, but Billy's doing it. Look at Billy, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Now Billy's standing there and he's probably thinking in his mind, yeah, that's 50 feet to the water. But if all of his posse, you say, yeah, look, Billy's going to do it. Then Billy gets emboldened and he'll jump off. He'll accept the challenge and jump off, and then he ends up leading all the other guys to jump off as well. This is a little story. I was out with my group of my friends, and we came across this bridge out by Lake Havasu, and everybody was jumping off. People were jumping in. It was a pretty long fall. So we pulled the car over, and we wanted to have that experience. So we got up there, and it was one of those cliffs where it was high enough, one of those bridges, when you jumped, like, you jump and
waiting to hit.
Boom! You know, like way longer than you thought. But it was a thrill, you know.
Yeah.
You go feet first. Nobody belly flopped or anything. So we had a blast. The next day, we camped out that day, and then we're going to take off the next morning. We drove by that bridge again. We thought, let's jump off the bridge one more time. So we get out. Nobody was there. We got just ourselves. We got up on the edge of that bridge, ready to jump, and this woman was screaming from the shore. And what is she saying? She goes, ah, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't hear. But we just held back a little bit, and what she was screaming is that they turned the water off upstream, and the water was 10 feet low.
Oh, my gosh.
And the rocks were just under the surface.
Oh, my gosh.
And it stopped us from doing it. But my leadership, I was all gung-ho, ready to go. I was about to lead my whole posse to their death.
A lot of people get jacked up that way.
Yeah.
Really.
Now, just because somebody's a leader doesn't mean he's the smartest cookie in the drawer, you know?
Well, you know, you own your own business. I own my own business. You're a career man. Mm. One of the things I've been taught, and it took me a while because I was a lone leader in my business, I didn't trust nobody. And I was and I never grew. I was always just this big, right? And I have several friends that are wealthy, and one of my friends said one time, I told him, I go, man, I work really hard, you know, and how do you grow a business? This is a long time ago. I was young. And he said, you have to network yourself. So you have to create little Franks.
Little what?
Little Franks.
Okay. Replicate yourself.
Not talking about hot dogs. You're talking about little replicas of you.
Little replicas of me, you know, networking myself. And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, well, He says, you've come this far. You're obviously the leader of your plan, your future. But if you want to grow, you have to create leaders. And how do you do that? You encourage people and you have to trust.
Yeah.
And then you encourage those people to lead. But the thing is you can't go into it expecting that it's just for you. He says, some of these guys are going to realize that they do have leadership in them and they're going to want the same thing you want, which is fine. That's a good thing. And there's others that'll lead for you, but they want to stick with you because, well, they feel safer that way. So that means that there's all types of leaders.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're always a follower. If you're we're all under someone. All of us, we never go at it alone.
People say, you work for yourself, man. That must be so great.
No.
It says, no, I don't work for myself. I work for everybody. I've got a billion bosses.
And see, our clients, I mean, they're like a leader to us because without them, I got to follow them to ask them if they can use me for something. And them being leaders of their homes or business, they're going to say, okay, I'll allow you to come and do business for. So really, I think we're all leaders, but at some point we got to follow. And I think learning to follow creates a better leader. It's kind of like what we're called to be in Christ is good servants.
Yeah.
Right? We're supposed to be good servants in order for then us to become good leaders.
So what makes a good follower?
I think it's someone that can submit to authority. I think it's someone that can take that chip off the shoulder and think, have that thought in their head like, screw that guy, I don't think it's about screw that guy. It's more about, I want to learn what he knows. And if he gives me that opportunity while I'm with him, because everything's a season. While I'm with him, the way that I'll thank him is by providing for him, but then I'll go off on my own.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
you're putting your finger on something that's always been a passion of mine, especially in the world of employment. When you come into a job and you got a boss, that means you got a leader, and you're going to be a follower doing the job, whatever job is assigned to you. If you go in with the attitude that I'm here so the boss can pay me money, you're already fired.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done, But if you come in there with the attitude that my job is to create the wealth that my boss will distribute to me, I'm going to make him more wealthy, and then he'll turn around, see that, and send some my way.
And what is that? That's leadership.
And that's taking leadership of yourself, your own little soul, even within a subservient relationship on the outside. And you make yourself do something that is kind of against human nature.
Yeah.
Because it's human nature to always look out number one. Back in the late 60s, look out for number one was a mantra for a lot of that generation.
Right.
Well, that look out for number one just means there's a lot of people with nothing at the end of their life because they didn't network.
One of those friends of mine said, remember this, you weren't born with your way paved. Somebody was already ahead of you and paved the way if you really look at the road. But if you're going to walk on what they paved and complain, eventually you're going to realize that you're mumbling and you're way off the road already because it was going that way. So the thing is what I got from that is I have to learn how to follow someone, how to take direction, how to be responsible and not think about, because I get a lot of different types of feedback. And I've had guys, never told to my face, but my own employees that are with me have told me, hey, that guy that used to work with us said he was making you rich. And I'm not a rich man, but that's his perspective.
Right.
So therefore, and what I do is I always want my guys to prevail in their few, because all my guys are married. I don't want for me to make the money and for them to be a down and out. I always want everybody equal. I always want them to, if they're doing great, that means I'm doing a good job. And it's not about money.
Really?
It's about what's in here, right? So I like to think that I have the ability, I have a gift on encouraging people to become leaders because I was given that opportunity. Now, I was treated, I love this man. He was an Armenian man. He is still alive, but he had a foul mouth. And he was just bad, and nothing but, you effing, and he would fire everybody on a split second out of a job that he had. He didn't care because his wife upset him. And then the very next day we showed up thinking, like, were we fired for good or
Did he mean it? Yeah.
But then we got to know that when he gets mad, he tells everybody to get the heck home, you know?
Right.
And so a lot of guys dropped off because they couldn't take it. But I had this, the Lord put this in me where I thought to myself, I don't care what he says. I'm going to learn everything I can off this man.
Yeah.
Because I want a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't even think about money. I just thought I want to be my own boss, right? So it took me, I think it was like 6 years. And eventually he tells me, why are you still here? And I said, well, because you've taught me a lot. And he just laughs and he goes, get in the truck. And I got in the truck and he took me to this job and he goes, I need you to run this for me. And he just left me there. And there was guys there. And then he goes, I'll be back. And I'm like, okay. But you know what? Immediately, everything that he's told me, and I know how he likes things done. So I paid attention and I respected and I took it. And here I am.
And you saw the burden that this leader was under. I mean, not every leader
A lot can't do
operates perfectly.
Yeah.
They're flawed. They have their own flaws. But you see, it's a heavy weight. A leader's doing part of the team's job.
that. Yeah.
And they carry a weight that other people aren't supposed to carry.
Yeah.
But if you see that and you lift them up, you know, with your following, then the whole team can do well. And the rising tide will float all the boats.
Go ahead.
I would say, like, from a work setting perspective, a leader really has to have no ego,
Yeah.
because your employees are going to challenge you. They're going to say something that steps on your ego. And you have to make every decision devoid of your ego. It's not about me. What's the best decision for what just happened? What do I need to do? So you got to move your ego. It's not about being the big guy. It's really about serving everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think if you serve them, they respect you more and you'll gain their trust that way. But the other thing is, like, coming into a job, I've had a lot of bosses, and the first thing on my mind always is, what does my boss want from me? And a lot of times bosses won't even be able to articulate it. And they get mad when they don't get what they want, you know?
Right.
So when I go into an interview or once I get hired, I start asking questions like, what does a successful day look like to you? What's the goals here? What does me doing my job successfully look like? This is when there's a lack of guidance. So I get it from them and I hear them. Then I know what they want. Okay, I know what you want. You'll get it the way you want it. The other way around, though, is when I've led, to be clear and concise. You know, like I want this done and this is what I expect and I'd like this done by this date. And if you can't do that, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, like you were saying, give them that freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think releasing them is a big part, because when you try to control, you stifle the process.
What's more effective, leading with a big stick or leading with a carrot?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I guess with a stick, but a carrot in your back pocket. I mean, no, I take it back. Leading with a carrot, but you have a stick in your back pocket.
Or leading with a big stick in your carrot in your hand.
because especially when you're kind to people, they mistake it for weakness, and they're going to challenge you sometimes where you have to fire them.
It's kind of like, it has to be
Well,
both.
It has to be out.
I learned once I was able to let go of the insecurity of, being able to trust someone with my business. One of the things that works really well for me, and they all tell me, the new guys that come in, they said they've never experienced something like what I do. So basically what I do is I have ideas. They've worked for me for many years. I've been in business for 33 years. Mm-hmm. It keeps evolving. It gets better and better because you're always learning. But the one thing that's steady with me is that I give the opportunity. Somebody comes in my field I'm a general contractor. I have framers, plumbers, drywallers, painters. They all have traits. They all have things they've learned along the way that maybe I've never heard of or seen or done. Mm-hmm. And it's all the time. So a lot of these guys tell me, where I used to work, they won't even let us do anything, man. And they're always like stressing us out. And you know what I'm saying? He goes, but with you, it's like there's no stress. And I always say, I go, look, I said, if you want to do what you do, I don't have a problem with that. But if I see it not working, I'm going to call it.
Yeah, so you're not nitpicking about how they do stuff.
No.
just because you have an idea and it was your experience
No.
that we've always done it that
There
way.
isn't that, you said, there isn't that ego, prideful, it's my way or the highway type. No.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, whether you're a supervisor, a foreman, a CEO, I believe, okay, from my experience, is if you open yourself up to allow people to be who they are, you're going to get a much better return.
Yeah.
You know, and insecurity will make you a micromanager. Like whoever had a micromanager, it's like the worst thing you could have. Every little thing they're on.
Right.
They drive you nuts. They stifle you. But that comes from their insecurity. You know, and it's killer. But at the same time, you have to give direction too. So there's a balance in it. But but empowering people, I think, is the best way. And if they mess up, you have to allow them not to be perfect. It's the only way you can release work.
Exactly.
Because they're never, who's going to do it as perfect as me? You know what I mean? Like, as we
and
think.
yet you don't do it perfect. So if you acknowledge that about yourself,
Right.
you can pull the best out of someone. But it's not just for self-gain. It gives you joy to see someone happy working.
Yeah.
Because I think back when I was being treated the way I was treated, and I was going to say this a little bit back, is there's evolution in leadership, meaning that I was led by someone who was very knowledgeable and successful, but their ways weren't the greatest ways. So even though I took that punishment, I want to say, because it was punishing at times, and granted, at home I was being treated the same way. Okay, but for some reason, I thought, this is more beneficial to me than it is at home. And so that's how I was able to separate that. But that's a different story. That's a different concept. But I said to myself, once I got to a certain point, I said, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to treat people like that because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And at that point, I didn't even know how far I was going to go with this because I was early on, but I was already a young man saying, this feels awful. But I thought, okay, well, and at that time, I didn't have a relationship with the Lord, but I just felt in my heart, one day I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to treat people this way.
That's the beauty of having that kind of an experience. If you're a kid out there and you've got a boss who's just a jerk, just so annoying, it's actually the most wonderful learning experience, because if you can learn to serve a leader like that and get around their flaws and make room for them, you'll develop this muscle set.
You will.
That you see exhibited in this man.
You will.
That when your turn comes, when you're the leader, then suddenly you can make everybody feel like a superhero around you. And they'll all think you're the greatest thing in the world, but it's their gifts coming out.
I've had employees, where we're there at a job and we get this nasty, just awful person that comes to me and just totally disrespects me in front of everybody. And it doesn't move me. Why? Because I've been there.
Yeah.
I understand it's not right, but you're not going to change who I am. And is that out of stubbornness or pride, or I'm going to show you? No, if I did something wrong, I'm going to tell you, I'm so sorry, I apologize. We'll take care of it, free of charge. But my guys tell me, hey, how come you didn't tell them nothing back? I don't need to.
Yeah.
And you know what happens?
Yeah.
And this is where the leadership really kicks in, where you don't ask for it, but you get a pat in the back or you get that high five to yourself, is the very next day or a couple of days later, this same person comes back and says, hey, I am so sorry for what I've done. I apologize. I just went through something really horrible. And you say, it's okay. I understand. That's leadership.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel so proud that you didn't have to lash back or you didn't have to feel like you have to defend yourself because you didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So from that comes additional business, even friendships.
Well, let's shift gear. Let's talk about friends. Say you're in a group of friends and there's a leader in the pack, and the leader is always taking the down road, always leading the group into worse and worse trouble. And you're feeling this pressure because you're part of that group and you don't know how do I exercise or manage this situation?
I think that's a bad leader, though, because real leadership quality is you're going to be watching out for everybody. You're not looking to bash anyone or get on anyone or laugh at anyone. You're really watching out for all the people who you care for them, right? That's a better way to put it. a leader cares for a group. So a bad leader is going to be taking you, getting arrested, getting in bar fights, doing stupid things.
Really, that's what you need to do is tell these guys, how do you recognize that you're under bad leadership in a social situation?
Well, for me, my group of friends, we kind of weeded that out ourselves. We even had like rules, like if you stole your girlfriend, you're going to get thrown out of the group. I mean, we kind of, so anyone rose up with any bad
rules, little boundaries.
We were all a little on the not bad side, if you will, because that's how we were all leaned. But if you went crazy bad, like hurt someone or hit a girl or steal a girlfriend, you broke a rule. And so we self-cleansed ourselves, believe it or not.
What would be the consequence if somebody did that?
Oh, we had things like that. One guy was dating a girl and he was head over heels, and my other friend ended up stealing her away just for a cheap night, and we just see you later. Everyone stopped being his friends, stopped talking to him, stopped everything. Yeah. So those are our rules. We had those rules. So we never had that problem where like a bad leader took us in the wrong direction. I think the people who rose to leadership are those who watched out. Hey, do you have money? Like we'd go somewhere. Yeah. Do you have money? Do you have enough to get in? Like that's the guy who everyone, you're cool if he's there, like, and you wouldn't, everyone wants to do something. The other guy can't because he doesn't have enough money or you have to pick him up an hour late because he's working. The guy who said, no, let's wait for him. That's usually the guy who's
my best friend, the one that was the leader of the group. He was an only child and he desired family, like brothers, sisters. Yeah. And he, so much so that he was that guy where a lot of us, sometimes we didn't have enough. You have $5, but it's $10. So he got, we used to make fun of him because he got allowances for taking out the trash. No. He got allowances for washing his mom and dad's car. I mean, numerous amounts of ways that he would make money, right? But he wasn't money hungry. It's just that's the way they raised him. And then grandma and grandpa were always Christmas, birthdays, so he always had, but he always gave it away.
Yeah.
Even like sometimes we all had cars and it's like, okay, well, it's my turn to take everybody, but I don't have all the money for the gas. So he's like, it's all right. I'll just put in the rest, And then we had that kind of guy. So he cared. Yeah. He cared for the group.
I think that's one of the biggest attributes that people are going to look for. Who's the one watching out for everyone? Who's the one who cares? Because that's a leader worth following.
Yeah.
In a way. So.
Okay, let's shift gears again. What does leadership look like within your home with your wife? What if you you've got a girlfriend that is very domineering, that wants to be in charge, and you feel like there's really no room for me to express leadership here? How do I manage that?
Ooh, man, that's tough. That's tough because a little deeper, before you get to what you were saying is the wife. I can tell you, all the men, including you guys, that I hear those stories. It took us a while to really understand why, when you're a parent, you tell your child, don't go so fast with the relationship, don't jump into it. Because all of us are broken. We all have things that we gotta know about and learn to fix it. And for us, obviously, believers is Jesus Christ, which we're all broken. So
we're broken in ways we don't even know.
So if you jump into a relationship and a woman or a young girl is dominant and you come from insecurity or you don't have a dad or you know
have some kind of reason to
that girl, it's gonna treat you like a puppet.
Yeah, out of her insecurity.
Or vice versa. If you get this guy where this girl is the opposite and this guy, all he's seen is animosity in his home, he's going to be very overpowering.
Right.
And he's going to see the female as a weaker vessel in the wrong way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And thinking I can control. It's me, it's my way or the highway, So that's a very...
How do you recognize an out of bounds leadership?
Well, at that age, you're not. Yeah. At a very young age, unfortunately. I mean, there is some very few young men that see it and do something about it. But from my experience, more time than none, and I've seen a lot of this, is it takes a lot. And unfortunately, you leave a mess before you realize.
Yeah.
And the reason why I can say that is because I'm one of those guys. I've been divorced twice. And before that, I wasn't mean to my girlfriends, and I wasn't abusive in any way, but I like to play games. I like to just switch the tables, and I was able to do that. I was very conniving, and I was able to just flip the tables, and then they would be feeling like I was able to do that, make them feel like I did something wrong, make them apologize. They would be apologizing to me. Mm-hmm. I had that thing where it was very conniving. And as I got older, it developed into self-righteousness, like I'm the guy. Mm-hmm. But again, being so naive, not having a father at home, but my father not being there to teach me the ways a man should go, but having a loving mother saying, you always respect, and I respected my mother. So long story short, forwarding, as a man, I had no clue what marriage really was. I remember sitting at the age of 35, I had already been married and divorced, sitting at church, just learning about marriage for the very first time. And I had already made a mess of my life. And so
with kids in it.
With kids. Yeah. And so, when I started hearing these things, like my life flashed before my eyes. Yeah. And I was like, and then I started feeling like, oh my God, man, I can't believe that I put this girl through that. And I can't believe that, I was lying all the time just to get what I wanted. And it looked like I was a very honest guy, but I knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was really awful. So I think, and I know it's tough, especially in these times, but I think that not being in a serious relationship and waiting till you can really figure yourself out,
right?
I think that would be the best
for the approaching a relationship where you look at the other person. In my case, I'm a man, so I would look at a woman as a cabinet that's full of things that I want.
Yeah.
Like, you got a body, I want that body, I want those body parts, I want this behavior, I want there's a whole list of things.
Yeah.
And if I approach a relationship thinking these are the things that I want out of you, and she's looking at me the same way, like, here's the things I want out of you. I want your money, I want you to do this, I want you to, serve me, do whatever I want, you're doomed, because leadership isn't any of that. Leadership is not extracting something from the other person.
But okay, I think a woman will always follow a good man, but that means a sacrificial man. So if there's going to be a short end of the stick, you're going to be the one taking it because you're the man in the relationship. And I believe women resonate with that, and women will follow a man who shows those traits. But here's the challenge in that. Women will also challenge us and break us down.
Yeah.
And not even mean to.
Right.
They'll just, our house is so small. To them, they're saying it like, it'd be nice to have a bigger house for the kids. But what's a man hearing is, as hard as you work,
you're inadequate.
Yeah, everything your best isn't good enough. So it's funny. One thing I've learned is to it's going to sound bad, but to not be afraid to set my wife straight at times. Like if I get just questioned on jealousy, I don't deserve that. I've earned more respect than that.
Yeah.
And I'll get serious real fast about things like that. But then the other side is, like, we were coming out of a restaurant and it was pouring. I mean, pouring. And we both knew right off the bat, I'm going to be the one to run and get the car. And I started running in the rain, and I turned around and I said, this is what the short end of the stick feels like. And I kept running. But of course, I'm not going to let my wife get wet. Yeah. She knows that, So like, it's stepping into the role, and then at times defending your role. And not in a machismo dumb way, not at all. But sometimes women, without meaning to, will break us down. Yeah. And they don't mean to. And they don't understand how important their words are to us.
They're afraid when they do that. They're afraid that, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you're going to be up to it. I don't know if I'm up to this.
Yeah.
So when they get afraid, that's when they want to play games. They want to pad their bets, and influence the outcomes.
And this is why, if you listen to what we're saying, we really started learning this as men. Mm-hmm. How can an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old
without a father
understand without a father that
it's hard?
I mean, at least let me tell you this, guys, and you're not doomed by any means.
No.
Because even I had friends growing up that had their dads, and their dads would give them advice, but there's the peer pressure outside of your home. In your home, you're safe.
The media
in your home,
pressure.
In your home, you're getting the right things told to you if you have that kind of father and mother.
Yeah.
But even though you had your father and mother, because I had friends that had their fathers and mothers, they went out there and they were like, oh my God, dude, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, because it's life. So what I mean by that is there's nothing wrong with liking girls. There's nothing wrong with taking a girl out. There's nothing wrong with going on a date. But I think that line is majorly crossed when you guys begin that sexual intimacy, because that's what throws everything out of balance. That's when you're totally lost. And I don't think we truly understand what that responsibility brings.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you keep it without, I didn't do this, but now as a grown man knowing Christ, I believe that if you just don't cross that boundary, you would do good. Both of you would.
Right.
You would, if you'd had that respect for one another, where we're not going to go there, or that's not the most important thing for me, or that's not what I'm looking for. If you just enjoyed each other's company, did fun things, experienced things together that have nothing to do with sex.
And don't open Pandora's box.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Because the second that it becomes a sexual situation, powers are brought into
it all
That are beyond you, honestly.
That are beyond. They're
Beyond
way
humanity.
past. It's so volatile.
It's hard to.
There was a day, back in the old days. Let's get all grandpa like, right? Back in my day, there used to be a thing called chivalry. Remember what chivalry? Look it up. Google it.
Yeah.
Chivalry was a set of rules that the knights of old time England, the way that they would behave with a woman. And to boil it down into parlance so we can understand, it's like opening a door for her when she comes in.
Yeah.
It's getting up out of your chair when a woman enters the room. There were little symbolic rules that were like practice steps in leadership. These are the things that I'm going to do to mark and honor you moment by moment. There's symbolism, and maybe they don't mean anything in today's modern world, but it trained young men back in the day how what it was going to be like to actually be in a leadership role that was meaningful and nourishing to a woman. Because the role, when you get connected with another person, a woman comes into your life, you want to have the mindset, not that I'm going to be a leader in the sense that I'm going to be driving this cattle down this up the South 40 to get her where I need her to go. That's not leadership.
No.
Leadership is more being the gardener. The woman is the garden. Yeah. You water her,
take care of her,
care for her, you pull out the weeds, you do everything you can to make her thrive.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you step back and give her room, she'll thrive in ways that you'll never know. You'll never expect.
Yeah.
And that's what real leadership is.
And I think that's why we're told as men, whatever we model is what your daughter will go after, or is how your son's going to perceive himself. So again, that's another tough one because we're not perfect and we're flawed. So I've learned, and we've all learned the hard way, where at the beginning, I wasn't the greatest example to my kids because I was set a certain way. But as I built that relationship with Christ and as I walked with him right alongside of him, I learned that the best way is, and there's so many things, but this is the one thing that comes to mind, is you can't control people into doing things or into giving you things that are not yours.
Yeah.
So you said right now, just what you said right now, the first part of what you said is that's a controlling person. A person that says, I'm going to have to like tell her what to do and show her where to go. That's controlling. But when you're talking about the garden and the gardener, that's a man.
I think it's leading versus controlling.
Right.
And I think real leaders will lead. They'll lead in love, they'll lead in sacrifice, they'll take care of, and I think that'll draw people to.
In fact, a good definition for a leader is a man that causes to thrive.
Yeah.
Makes you cause your employees to thrive. You cause your friends around you to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily get what they want, because what they want might be something bad, but good qualities would thrive in them. And ultimately, when you're together with that one person, you want to cause them to thrive.
And I'll share something. Unfortunately, but fortunately, guys, the reason why I failed in marriage is because I was a controller. It's what I said. It's, I'm the man and it's my castle. And obviously, my marriage dissolved twice and kids were hurt. Now I have a strong, godly woman. I don't have to say anything. And when I say something, I pray that it's wisdom. And my wife goes above and beyond.
Yeah.
She will do, I don't even ask. And she does it, and that's you're leading her to feel safe. You're leading her to trust. You're leading her to know that you're there for her. So you don't have to be this, I'm going to show you. No, you don't. You know what? I think the quieter you are, but responsible enough, submit to the Lord, understand your position. You don't have to go around and pounding your chest. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
In fact, the more you pound your chest, the more she wants to pound her chest.
Yeah, a woman will challenge you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you got somebody that has already been spooked and they already don't trust your leadership, they already think that you're manipulating them, so they are very defensive in their own stance with you. It may take a long time to convince her to come out from the barricade.
As a leader, I've learned this about my wife and about women. Women are very wise. And as a matter of fact, we were just talking about this the other day. I said, you know what? I call her mom. I said, you know what, mom? I said, I learned something. I said, a lot of guys say behind a good man is a great woman. I said, it's not behind. It's right next to.
Yeah.
The reason why I said, you know what? It's even in the Bible. A man by himself is a disaster. Women are so wise. And men tend to look at them like they misuse. They're the weaker vessel, but they're super strong. You're misunderstanding
in a different
what
way.
that means. But you know what I'll tell you now is my wife is amazing, and I was never able to do anything like I'm doing now because I never get. I think I might have had 2 other women in my life that were probably amazing, but I never gave it the time of day.
Yeah.
But now that I'm not allowing, I don't want to say allowing, now that I am allowing the Lord to let us know what our place is, to show us. Mm-hmm. My wife is the woman of the house that she needs to be, and she's not perfect. Mm-hmm. And I'm the man that I need to be. And together, we don't have it together 100%, but we're growing together.
And you have grace for each other.
And you do.
Yeah. I mean, that thing you said, it has been a stumbling block for all of men for all of time, that the woman is a weaker vessel. Let me set you straight on that.
Yeah.
Weaker doesn't mean weak, as opposed to the man is a stronger vessel.
Yeah.
It's more delicate. It's like a finer instrument.
Yeah.
Where a man is a more industrial strength instrument, a cruder instrument. And it's true. Look at yourself, guys. Look at yourself, women. Your tools are different, but they're both of equal power, and each one can do something the other one can't.
Yeah. A hammer and a tweezer are 2 very different tools.
Well, God didn't create a woman to pleasure the man. He created a helper. That's what he calls it, is he created a helper.
Yeah.
Right.
And he went as far as to, there's a purpose and a reason why he created it out of your own flesh, is because you got to love. I mean, and I know you got to love yourself. If you love yourself, you love your wife, because she was created from that to be a helper, not to be a follower. God doesn't say to be a follower, to be your sex toy, to be your punching bag. He doesn't say that.
Right.
It's to be your helper. And boy, let me tell you, man, if you submit to that the word says, you'll have the most amazing wife. And that starts, that you can start early on when you start having your little dates or your, a girl you like.
You honor a girl when you take her out.
Yeah.
Honor her.
Yeah.
Look past what she wants and do the thing that would make her thrive, even if she doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
If you do that, think of the reputation you'll earn.
I think if anything, that would be, I think, a good point of advice for young men is exactly just what you said right now. Just honor her, respect her. Don't look at her like she's less than you, but just be that gardener that nourishes that rose garden, because that's what she is.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think we need to bring this to close, but like, what would be the intentional steps you would suggest to somebody to start taking that leadership role?
It kind of starts within, and it starts with a step of humility within yourself.
Yeah.
Because a guy that's not humble, a guy that's proud, is going to be very defensive to protect what he thinks he's proud over. He's going to be aggressive, because you got to feed pride. Pride's the thing you got to constantly
you
be
gotta constantly
throwing.
feed it. It's a
You got to
monster.
stoke that furnace all the time. Because the minute you stop, you start getting afraid that your empire is melting away.
Yeah.
But if you just humble yourself and just step back from that furnace, step back from pride, humble yourself, and then look at your life, the people that are in your life that are right next to you, your inner circle, and you think, how can I cause every one of them to thrive and become the best they can be, whether they're a man or a woman, whether they're your friends or not,
Or
an
workers.
employee or a coworker or whatever. How can I cause them? You begin that, you'll enter into a training regimen, then the Lord will lead you himself. And you'll earn that reputation as being one who causes to thrive. That's how you step in and you develop the leadership. When you're qualified, in due time, God will bring that challenge.
Right.
And I think with that, that's very true, 100%. But I think with that, it also doesn't mean that people could take advantage of you and you're just going to keep doing it. It means that you do have to. We all know when something's not right.
Right.
Some of us are capable of saying, hey, enough is enough. Others, for some reason, we can't. But the thing is that's part of the leadership process where you got to pull that out and be able to be like, you know what? I'm going to make a stand. It's scary. And sometimes it's like, oh man, maybe he's not going to be my friend anymore, but I have to call this. That's leadership. That would probably be the very first step that would be the hardest, is to be able to say, and everybody's confronted with that, is I can't just be a part of this person's life anymore.
That's one of the aspects of being a leader, is you're alone often.
Yeah.
Because the leaders go ahead.
Yeah.
And they're all by themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't have the pack around them until the pack catches up.
Yeah.
So if you're going to develop leadership, that means you have to get accustomed to stepping out alone once in a while.
Yeah. Telling that drunk uncle, you're not allowed over my house when you're drinking.
Yeah.
You're being a leader. You're protecting your family. And is that a comfortable conversation? No.
Or a friend, hey,
know.
I understand you enjoy smoking marijuana, but I don't.
Not in my house. Right. Exactly.
So I don't mind hanging out with you as long as that stuff's not around.
Right.
Me.
If they say, then get out of here, you're just a drag, then get out of there and find a better tribe.
Yeah. That doesn't
You're
make
worth
you a
more.
loser. That
Man,
makes you a leader.
It means you got to find the tribe of guys that are like you.
Yeah.
And
Eagles.
they are harder to find.
What is
I'll
that?
admit it.
That saying about I can't remember exactly, but about hanging out with eagles instead of turkeys.
Yeah.
How does that go?
If
You can't
wanna be
soar like an eagle if
yeah.
you're going to hang out with turkeys.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're going to run into a lot of turkeys, but let me tell you, there's a lot of eagles out there.
Yeah.
And I would say, just in any situation, it's about being sacrificial. It's about serving those around you, taking care of those around you
Yeah.
in a meaningful way. And then, as men, we are a hammer. There's times when we're going to have to stand up.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes it'll be our wife saying, oh, don't say anything, because women love peace.
Yeah.
They love not fighting. They get uncomfortable
Right,
with fighting.
right.
But sometimes, honey, step aside. You get out of my house. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm not trying to be all macho or nothing,
No.
but sometimes,
Well, a man calls, you are supposed to protect your home
yeah.
at all costs.
You have to tend the fence of your garden.
Right.
You got to keep the goats from eating the roses.
Yep.
And it's all leadership. You know what? Try this. This is leadership. Sitting with your wife at her sister's house while they play with the babies. Okay, dude, from a dude's perspective. Oh, okay, how can I die? Does anyone have a hammer I can smash my fingers with to distract me?
That's why I made a very symbolic act. I told my wife that you will never have to do dishes involuntarily. You'll never have to do the dishes again the rest of your life.
Oh,
Dishes belong to me.
Right.
I'd stake it from now. That means Thanksgiving, means every meal. It's on me. And my wife kind of blew her mind because it comes from that traditional thought that, wow, I can't believe I have a husband. It's a little symbolic thing.
Yeah.
But I did that to put a marker that I could look at.
Yeah.
That reminds me that leadership is not domineering.
No.
Leadership is serving.
Serving.
And it's those little things, because my wife would even tell our congregation sometimes, oh, Frank, is it okay if this and that? And then my wife, she would say, well, he doesn't let me, and they're like, what? And we're talking about like doing things in the house, like painting the house, putting plants or whatever. I didn't realize that I was very like, being a contractor, I'm thinking I know better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that was a big thing where she would get hurt because it's like, well, I thought it was our home, right? Yeah. But I didn't see it like that. But that's what it was, right? Simple little things. Now it's like, baby, whatever you want to do, I'll do it.
Right.
It's like the dish. And now she's like, whoa, what? I'm like, you know what? I'm not tripping.
I had a pastor once to tell me when we got into a conflict like that when we were first married and I was arguing about the furniture. And my pastor told me, he says, look, in the nest, your job is to go get the worm. Her job is to pick out the sticks.
Exactly. Exactly. You got
it. Being a leader.
That's being a leader. That's
submit to your wife in those many ways. And I mean, that's leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has brought so many things in my life that I would never, if you would have seen my life now without a wife, my house would look like a treehouse. It would be all plywood furniture and 2x4s.
Never
nothing ever fixed, and everything just piled and stacked, and
No, a woman will make your life better. I believe that
brought so much beauty. Yeah. And I watch your wives, and they're all like just, I call her, they're black belt women.
Yeah.
They're so skilled in what they do and what they are. And they bring glory to you guys because your love shines all over them.
Yeah.
That's so true, because when you're a schmuck, that shows up on your wife too.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that for a long time. You just let me know something. I was like, wow, it just hit me like right now. Because so many years that my wife, people saw me without me even, being behind closed doors. You think nobody knows nothing. They saw it in her.
Yeah.
And now, vice versa, praise God, they see me in her.
Yeah.
And it's what you said is, my wife is just amazing.
Yeah. So young guys, join our tribe.
Yeah.
Join up, guys.
Amen.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Come on down.
Yeah.
All right, Lord God, I would just ask you would think of every soul paying attention to this little podcast right now, and you would light up their personal lives.
Yes, Lord.
With all the opportunities where they can make a difference and become leaders within their own lives. God,
yes,
bless them in their way, encourage them, and help them to contact us if they need further help.
Yes.
In the name of Jesus, let your Holy Spirit be with them. Amen.
Amen.